Good morning and welcome to Wednesday's Maths. So, on Monday, we were looking at fractions, decimals, and percentages and how to change between them all. Yesterday, we started looking at finding percentages of an amount. Today, we're going to have a go at finding missing values. So, we're going to be using the bar model, we're going to be doing a little bit of problem solving, and then tomorrow is more problem solving, and Friday is even more problem solving. So, let's get started. Okay, so today we're going to follow a Power Maths lesson. You have done little bits of this before, so you might remember some parts of it, but this is a really tricky concept, and the way this book sets out is really, really nice. So we're going to have another look at this to try and get our heads around this, because this is a little bit difficult, but we'll be absolutely fine. So, our Discover problem today is at a long jump track. You can see the long jump in the foreground. I've got a running track in the back, so it's a little bit of athletics. And Mr. Lopez, the teacher, is saying, well done. That is 50% as far as the women's long jump world record. And Jamila has jumped 3.75 metres. Okay, and we need to try and work out how far is the women's world record for long jump. So if Jamila's jumped 3.75 metres and that's 50% as far as the record, what is the record? So a really helpful way to work out these kinds of problems is to visualise it. Okay, get the information from the problem that you need and then visualise it. And a bar model is so helpful for that. So as you can see from this bar model, the world record is the entire bar, and that half the bar is 3.75 metres. How did we know that it's half the bar? What piece of information tells us that Jamila's jump is half the world record? Well, if she's done 50% of it, 50% is the same as a half. So she is half of the world record. So how then can we work out what the whole world record is? Well, if we know that 50%, so a half of it is 3.75, to work out the whole thing, we need to do 3.75 times by 2, because the red part's 3.75, the white part of the bar is 3.75, so that's 3.75 times 2, which is 7.5 metres. Part B is this. Lee jumps 49 centimetres in the high jump. This is 20% of the world record for men's high jump. What is the world record? Right. Same approach as we did with Jamila. So we know that he's jumped 49 centimetres and we know that is 20% of the world record. I want you to now pause this video and try and draw that as a bar model. So remember, 50% is the same as a half. So you're going to draw a bar in half. What is 20% the same as a fraction? 20%. Well, hopefully you've drawn a bar model that looks a bit like this. 20% is the same as 1/5, because 20% is the same as 20 over 100, which is the same as 2 over 10, which if you simplify that further is 1 over 5, 1/5. If you times 20 by 5, you get to 100. So 20% is equivalent to 1/5. So your bar needs to be cut into 5 pieces. And one of those parts is Lee's jump. Lee's part is 49 centimetres. So how can we work out the whole then? If one part is 49 centimetres and there are 5 parts, we're going to do 49 times 5, which is 245 centimetres. Well done if you got that right. If you're finding it tricky, don't worry. We're going to keep going through these. Okay, think together time. So this one, for number 1, has very helpfully drawn the bar models for you. So it's already helping you to visualise. And we need to work out the missing values. So for A, 10% of something is 3. So what's 100%? What's the whole? So have a go at working it out and then we'll talk through it. So 10% is equivalent to 1/10. We know that. So we're going to split our bar into 10 pieces. Now one of those 10 parts, 10%, is 3. So that means that each of those parts is worth 3. So to work out the whole, we need to do 3 times 10 because there's 10 parts, which would be 30. Next one, 20% of something is 5. 20% of something is 5. So we've got our whole bar we've got our 100%, and it's split into 20%. Now, 20% is the same as a fifth, so the bar is going to be in 5 parts, and each one of those parts is worth 20%, and 20% equals 5. So one part's 5, the next part's 5, the next part's 5, the next part's 5, and the next part's 5. So 5 times 5 is 25. Last one then. So for the last one, we might need to draw this. So 25% of something is 30. So I want you to split your bar, into parts that equal 25%. Here is my bar model. The whole thing equals 100%. This part's 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%. 25% is the same as a quarter, because 25 is a quarter of 100. So I've split it into quarters. I've shown it in 4 parts. Now, the question's already told me that 25% equals 30. Might be 30 children, 30 sweets, 30 cakes, whatever it is that you are trying to find the whole of. So if 25% is 30, then this part is 30, this part is 30, this part is 30, and this part is 30, because all of these parts are worth 25%. So 100% then equals 30 times 4, or 30 add 30 add 30 add 30. Well, 3 times 4 is 12. Times by 10 would be 120. Question number 2. 120 people arrive by bus to watch Sports Day. This is 40% of the spectators. How many spectators are there in total? Now, this one is a little bit trickier because you can't split your bar, your 100% bar, into 40%, because then you'd have 40%, 80%, 120%. Right, how are we going to work this one out? Well, this is a little bit similar to when we're working out percentages of amounts. Think about the percentages that you can multiply to get to 100, or you can divide 100 by. You can't do it with a 40. 100 divided by 40 does not give you a whole number. So you can't split your bar into 40%. However, you could split your bar into 10%, into 10 parts, each worth 10%. And that's what this bar model is showing here. So there's 10 parts, each one of those is worth 10%. So why do you think they've coloured in those red parts? Well, those red parts are representing the 40%, because each one is worth 10 and there are 4 parts. So that red part there is worth 40%. So that is worth 120 spectators. Right, how then can we use that to work out how many spectators there are altogether? Okay, here's my slightly badly drawn bar model. So I've split it into 10 parts. Each one is worth 10%. And then here I've got 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%. So this here is 40%. If you want to write that, if that's going to help you, that's fine. So this bit here is 40%. And 40% equals 120 spectators, or 120 people. However, this isn't going to help me work out 100% at the moment. What would help me work out 100%? Hopefully you're telling me that if you knew what just 10% was, you could then use that to find 100%. So if 40% is 120, what's one of those 4 parts worth? Well, if I've got 4 parts of 40%, one part is going to be 10%, and I need to do that by dividing by 4. 120 divided by 4 is 30. So this shows me that 30 people is the same as 10%. If I want to work out 100% then, this part's 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30. I can times this by 10, so I times 30 by 10, which is 300 people. Right, let's have a go at another one of those, because they're a little bit confusing at first, but once you get the hang of it, it's really easy. So this time I'm telling you that 150 people were 30% of the whole crowd. 150 people were 30%, and I want to work out 100%. So I can't just multiply 30 and get to 100. That isn't going to work, because you can't times 30 by anything to get to 100. Whereas when we were doing the ones like this one, 10%, to find the whole, we were timesing by 10 to get to 100. So we were timesing 3 by 10, which was 30. For this one, for 20%, we can times 20% by 5 to get to 100. So we were doing 5 times 5. And for this one, 25% we can times by 4 to get to 100, so we were doing 30 times 4. With this one though, the 120 people being 40%, and with this one, 150 people being 30%, we can't just multiply straight to 100. So we need to have a step in between first of all. So think about, same with the 40%, what did we do there? Well, we split our bar into 10 parts, and each part is then 10%. So we'll try and make these slightly even. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, not the most equal. 1, 2, 3. Oh dear, those ones are extremely unequal. Pretend they're all equal parts, or Miss Winfield will be sad with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go, 10 parts. So each one of these parts is 10%. So if I've got 30%, I've got 3 of those parts. So these 3 parts here are 30%. And I know that 30% is 150 people. Right, if I know that then, how can I work out 10%? How can I work out 10%? Well, if these 3 equals 30, if I divide them by 3, 1 equals 10%. So I just do 150 divided by 3, which would be 50. So 10% equals 50 people. Therefore then, if each of these parts was worth 50, 100% would be 500. Okay, practice book time. Have a go at number 1. Then have a go at number 2. And this one is question number 3. So for number 1, 50% of something is 38. Well, I've got my bar model and this shows 50% and this shows 50%. So if 50% is half, to find the whole thing I need to times by 2. So 38 times by 2, well 30 times 2 is 60. 8 times 2 is 16. Add them together, 76. For B, you know that 25% is 16. Well, if it's 25%, that's a quarter of it. So to find the whole, you're going to need to times by 4. So 16 times 4 is 64. And for C, you know that 10% is 1.5. Well, 10% is a tenth. So to find 100%, you need to times by 10. So 1.5 times 10 is 15. Well done if you got those right. Right, for number 2. I've drawn my bar model. I've got 30% of my sweets were orange sweets and the other percentage were lemon. Well, if lemon and orange equal 100, if oranges are 30%, the lemons have got to be 70%. We've also been told that 63 of the sweets were lemon sweets. So that tells me then that 63 is the same as 70%. So to work out 100% then, we can't multiply 70% to get to 100% straight away. So let's just work out what 10% is first of all. So here is my 70%. To work out 10% then I need to divide by 7. 63 divided by 7 is 9. So each one of these 10% is worth 9. 9 sweets. So if 30% then, if 10% is 9, so this is 9, this is 9 sweets, and this part is 9 sweets. 9 times 3 is 27. So there was 27 orange sweets. Okay, 2B, little bit tricky, but we can still do it. So this time, she has a piece of string. Here's my string, my whole, my 100%. She cuts off 25%. So because we're working in 25%, she's cut off a quarter. So I've cut my bar model into quarters. 4 quarters make my 100%. So she's cut off this bit here. That's gone, and we're left with 240 centimetres. So I know if this part's 25%, this part is 75%. So I know that 240 centimetres is 75%. Now, we can't just multiply 75% by anything to get to 100. However, if we look at our bar model, we know that 3 25% make 75%. So if we do 240 divided by 3 to find one part, 24 divided by 3 is 8, so 240 divided by 3 is 80. So that means that each one of these parts is 80 centimetres. So the bit she cut off then, the 25% she cut off was 80 centimetres. So how long was it before she cut it? Well, you've got 80 times 4, which is 320 centimetres. That was a tricky one. Well done if you got that one right. Okay, so with this one then, you need to match the calculation to the correct bar model. So 40% of 60. This tells me that the whole is going to be 60. So this is actually the bar model on the left, the one underneath the question, because it's telling me that the whole thing is 60 and I want to work out 40%. So this is what we were doing the other day. So first of all, you need to work out 10%. So 10% of 60, to find out 10%, we divide by 10 would be 6. So now I know that one of these parts, one of these 10% is worth 6. So if this part's 6, this part's 6, this part's 6, and this part is 6, 40% then is going to be 4 times 6, which is 24. Right, this one over here then. 40% of something is 60. So this time I don't know the whole. I know that 40% is 60. So here's my bar cut into 10 parts. Each one of these parts is worth 10%. And 10, 20, 30, 40, this 40% here is 60. So to work out 10%, I'm going to divide 40% by 4. So I need to do 60 divided by 4, which is 15. So one of these little 10% is worth 15, but I've got 10, so I'm going to do 15 times 10, which is 150. Well done if you got those right today. This is really tricky. It's probably one of the trickiest things that we teach. So well done if you've had a really good go at that. Okay, we'll do a little bit more on it over the next couple of days. If you're still finding it tricky, don't worry. We'll keep going over it. Okay, see you later.